Hey everybody, this is a different and I'm really excited about format for Zenny 62 Live. We have never ever in the history of this effort had anyone on who is an expert sports bettor until tonight. And that man is Robert Cooper. Robert, welcome to Zenny 62 on YouTube and Zenny 62 and Oakland News Now and all the platforms of the Zenny 62 universe. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, Zenny. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be a part of this.
You know, one thing I get, thanks to Scott Cooley, I get your emails quite frequently, and so I got to ask you before we go further into this: do you have one eye on the Warriors game by chance?
Of course, absolutely. It is on the TV in front of me.
What was your prediction for the Warriors game that is unfolding before us right now?
You know, it seems it was pretty difficult to kind of handicap this one, in my opinion, given the outcome of last game. The Warriors seem to have kind of wasted that one away, given KD's effort there. Just an incredible game performance he put together in Game 3. Unfortunately, couldn't get any help around them, and I felt like had they won that, I think that Houston would have won Game 4. Just sheer the association being the association, looking for the dollars, and given everything that's happened with the officiating in the series. However, tonight, since they lost Game 3, I think the Warriors, could certainly, have to get on a run and go off on this game and take it. But I think losing that Game 3 put them a little bit more difficult position.
We'll come back a little bit later and get to that really fascinating conversation. And I just, again, can't tell you how I'm excited because my mind is racing and I don't want to go off script in terms of what I want to ask you. So I want to stick on the plan. First of all, tell my viewers how you do what you do. How do you determine, or you and your team, or however it works, how do you come to determine what team, be it the Raiders or the Chiefs or the Chargers, are going to do well or not?
Yeah, sure. It's a lot of work. Obviously, our team puts in hours and hours of work, researching and handicapping and analyzing these teams. Even from, it really comes down to looking at these from even a coaching, administrative perspective, doing the X and O's, figuring out the scouting reports, and from there we build. Power ratings for every single team, every single league, whatever it may be, whatever sport it may be. Maybe it's not sports, maybe it's Game of Thrones, and every odds, all the odds that are created are based on those that research and that analysis, but also past precedent always has a factor in the equation, an odds-making equation, as well as public perception. That is a big one, given that we know we want to know how we think the public is going to react to a certain spread or a total or a futures, number. And so certainly there are teams that, we know are public, have heavily bet teams by the public. And so when we have those types of teams, you're gonna adjust the number to favor their side a little bit. So you're gonna inflate their lines or their prices or whatever it may be. So the public perception does have a big part of the equation into it.
And then that, I think what got me, and I'll read this right now, but what got me was that with all the hoopla, it seemed like the Raiders weren't picked to be one of the stars. But before we go deeper, I'm going to read for you and the audience what you all did pick as the most likely winners and losers in terms of the odds. And then we can, because I have some questions regarding the simple percentages, because a lot of people, you see these pluses and minuses, and you hear these terms that have dominated society, like over and under and everything else. And some people like myself like to pretend like we have a feel for what that means, but I have to be honest with you, I don't. So here's the letter that email that Mr. Cooley wrote based on your work. It says Vegas has set odds on every NFL team's chances of making the playoffs, and there are some surprises. The 10 teams that are odds-on favorites to advance to the NFL playoffs at SportsBetting.ag are the Chicago Bears, the Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, the Indianapolis Colts, the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Rams, the New England Patriots, the New Orleans Saints, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Based on the odds, the final two teams in the Super Bowl would be the Cowboys and the Steelers, while the Chargers and the Packers would project to be the other two wild card teams. Also added to the board at Sports Betting are odds for next year's top draft pick, Tua favored, as well as a couple of Chiefs props. Patrick Mahomes will aim to avoid the dreaded Madden curse. He's favored to do so, while the odds forecast a suspension for Tyreek Hill. And wow, that's a heck of a scene. Odds to reach postseason. Arizona Cardinals. Now this says yes plus 900, no negative 2,000. How do we read that?
So essentially, the yes on the Cardinals, if you were to make a $10 wager that you think the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray are gonna shock the world and get to the postseason, if you bet on them, yes, you would risk $10 just for simplistic sake. And if they did reach it, you would win $90. So you would win the $90 and your original $10 bet back. So it would be a total of $100 coming back into your betting account. Yes, and so they're essentially 9-to-1 odds to make. I think a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, watched the Kentucky Derby this week. You can kind of understand exactly what that means. But that is a that's not a heavy long shot at 9-to-1 odds, but it's a mid-range underdog at that point. And on the flip side, if you wanted to say there's no way Kyler Murray is going to fall on his face and the Cardinals are never going to make the postseason, then you would actually the minus 2,000 indicates that you would risk $200 just to win $10. So if they didn't make the postseason, you would get your $200 original wager back, as well as you're winning $10 for a total of $210.
So you're risking $200 just to, again, I'm just writing this down. You would bet 200, you would win how much? Just $1?
Just $10.
Just $10. I get it. The reverse of what you said. Wow. Okay. So now I'm clear about this. So basically, the way we're to read this is if we see these two numbers, this is basically two different sides of what happens if we bet $10. The yes side is if I bet $10, I'll get 90 back in this case, plus 900. But the no side for negative 2,000 is if I bet 200, I get $10 back.
That is correct. Yes.
Cool.
And,
all right.
And they're obviously not even because that is the vigorish or the juice that the sportsbook factors in to protect their liability.
And folks, this is the classic case of there's no such thing as a dumb question. But I was too embarrassed to ask until now, and I thought, hey, you know what? I have viewers that would benefit from this. Let's do it, okay?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. No, absolutely. It is. It can be the odds can be quite confusing to the average Joe public. So certainly welcome any all questions on that. And it's not as always easy as just here's the spread or here's the total and that kind of thing. But it can get a little bit complicated. So I'm happy to explain.
And we have the Atlanta Falcons, and we happen to be in Falcons country, even though I live in Oakland. But the bottom line here is you have yes plus 160, no negative 200. Now, if I read that based on what you're telling me, you're telling me that if I bet $10 in this case, then if it's plus 160, then I'm only getting back what, $16? Is that right?
16. Correct. You would risk 10 to win 16. And if they make playoffs, you would get your $10 original wager and then your $16 winnings or your profit for a total of 26 back.
So basically, you're saying.
And then on the flip side, the no is risk 20 to win 10.
So basically, you're saying that this is such a sure thing that we know it's going to happen, and so you're not going to win a lot of money.
Right. It's more of a toss-up than the Arizona Cardinals. We look at the Falcons as one of the first teams out of the postseason picture at this point. Very early, very early in the season, and so it's even though the know you're having to lay some more juice. This is closer to hey, in the eyes of the odds makers, this could go either way. So we're not gonna reward the better for taking the yes too greatly.
In fairness to my Falcons friends, I have to ask, what came into this? Is this a lack of confidence in Dan Quinn? Matt Ryan is overrated. What plays into this?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. I think some of the guys in our camp felt like Quinn probably should have been shown the door than the last season. He was retained, and it's not that he's a bad coach, but it seems like maybe their change in the guard might have helped. We see a declining Julio Jones. Certainly they've got a budding star and Ridley there, but the run games was hit and miss last year. There's injuries. The defense wasn't quite up to snuff or at least where it was at one point. So, still a very, very good team. But you look at the Saints. There's some other factors at play where other teams have kind of left ahead of them, and having to deal with that team a few times a year and some of the other teams in their division, we do feel like the Falcons are taking a step back, and we certainly saw that last year.
Wow. So I'm writing on Twitter, hey, Falcons fans, betting expert says you're out the door fast. Sorry. Come join us. That's the latest tweet that I just dispatched out there. Now, moving down this fantastic post, we have now the Baltimore Ravens, slightly better it would seem. Yes, plus 175. No, negative 215. No confidence in Lamar Jackson there.
No, I don't have personally a lot of confidence in Lamar Jackson. We've seen, I think I can't remember which coach said, but I think it's Marvin Lewis. We've all seen running quarterbacks before, and we see how long they last. We all remember Robert Griffin III. Great rookie season.
Oh yeah.
What happened to him now? He's back. He's trying to beat out Lamar Jackson. So. It's something where that sophomore season comes along and you expect to slump, and teams have a lot more time to game plan and prepare for that kind of dual threat option there, and just still haven't seen enough out of him, out of the pass game, the accuracy, the deep balls, that kind of stuff to really warrant that. We're getting the bye again, much like the Falcons. Look, we've got the Falcons win total at 9 games. The Ravens are I think we've got them at 8. I mean, these are still two really quality teams that could, jump out really early and do well and make a playoff push, no doubt about it. But, we put the Ravens odds a little bit less than the Falcons to qualify. So, we view the Falcons just a smidge better, a game better than the Ravens. But, again, still, John Harbaugh's a coach that I think is a fantastic coach, and he surrounds himself with some really good staff. So I never count that guy out of the playoff picture.
We're with Robert Cooper of SportsBetting.ag, and we're continuing on. We come to now your Buffalo Bills. And Buffalo Bills had a good draft. He's got Mr. Cooper, yes, plus 400, no negative 600. A slightly better performance, it would seem. Am I reading that correctly?
Slightly. So they don't have nearly as good odds as the Falcons or Ravens to make the playoffs. So we're expecting that team to be, a good bit, worse than the prior two that we talked about. Our win total for the Bills is 6.5. So right on par with your Raiders there. I think we put them in around the same. Again, this goes back to the power ratings that we created. We've got every team 1 through 32, and the Bills and the Raiders probably they're definitely in that bottom tier, that bottom third of the peloton.
And so we continue. We have the Carolina Panthers at yes 225, no 285, better odds than the Bills. What's going on with there? What's the main driver with that determination for the Panthers?
Yeah, the Panthers again. That's a competitive division. That your Falcons and the Panthers, the Saints, and Bucks. I mean, it's the Saints and Falcons are obviously a little bit on the top, the higher tier, but the Bucks, they can be competitive any given week, especially on their home field. The Panthers. For me, it's always come down to, Bizarro camp, what I like to call them. Are you going to get the Bizarro, or are you going to get Superman? And, unfortunately, he loses a lot of games for them. He really does. And, I don't know if it's a work ethic thing or a practice thing, or if he just, isn't as talented as he should be, as a pocket passer and in the accuracy department. So they're right about where they were last year. Defense again hasn't didn't show that bite it had the previous few years last year. So we've got them there at third in the division, and probably about the right numbers there. Probably about a 2-1, 2.5 to 1. Dogs make the playoffs, but could certainly do it.
I'm curious. Do you factor in such things as, for example, the Buccaneers? Well, in the case of the Panthers, bringing in or changing offensive coordinators as they did when they brought in Norm. And Norm, whose last name has no business slipping my mind and just completely slipped my mind in this instance, but used to be coach of the Raiders. Or for that matter, yeah. Does that factor in when you say, oh, well, they're bringing in this noted expert at offense who's going to make Cam Newton better? Does that cause you to maybe kick up your prediction a bit? Or how about Dirk Koetter joining the Falcons, which he was at before as offensive coordinator? And, does that play a role?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, it doesn't. We certainly are aware of the coaching changes that go on, and schemes and systems and stuff like that. But we're not going to, the media, we definitely, we don't make our business off of hype and off the media, talking heads. We certainly are aware of, situations, an offensive coordinator joining a quarterback he had success with in the past, but, we have no, we don't want to just overreact off of a small sampling or hearsay or hype or anything like that. So really the only thing that really moves lines, these days are quarterbacks. If there's any injuries to any of the major quarterbacks, or if you have multiple injuries piling up, or for instance, an off-season, if the team, trades for 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen or something like that, where we know that quarterback's going to get great protection, it's going to go a long way in their entire system. That's something that we may look to adjust different things, but injuries, suspensions, stuff like that. If we actually did bump the Chiefs' win total down from 10.5 to 10 based on this unfortunate Tyreek Hill situation, because he really means that much to that offense and that playbook and Andy Reid.
I'm gonna come back to that because then I want to turn to the Raiders in more depth. We're on with Robert Cooper of SportsBetting.ag. If you have a question, you know the drill. Just type it in to the comment field and I'll ask it. What was it about Tyreek Hill? Was it more Tyreek Hill? And I think you partially answered this question before, but how much of the the Chiefs' success was Tyreek Hill versus the way Andy Reid used him? And because I argue it was more the way Andy Reid used him and that I believe that Andy will scheme his way out of this problem with his new draft picks. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I certainly agree with you, Vinny. In the fact that, to me, Andy Reid, as long as Andy Reid is on the sideline and Patrick Mahomes is staying in our center, that the Chiefs are going to have an incredible team, playoff bound, Super Bowl contender, year in and year out. And, just an example of that, last year, whenever when the Kareem Hunt, saga surfaced and he, basically kicked off steam, we didn't adjust the Chiefs odds, Super Bowl odds, playoff odds, anything to win, because they had a capable backup in Spencer Ware, and somebody, in that offense, you can really just kind of plug and play, next guy up, and really should have, around the same amount of impact. I have to say, I think I ate my words a little bit there. I think they did lose a little bit not having Hunt in the backfield, but I don't think that cost them the Super Bowl or was a factor in them not advancing, getting past the Patriots in that game. So I agree that Andy Reid is one of the most creative minds in the game today, and he's one of the probably top two, maybe top three coach in the game. However, with going back to your question about Tyreek Hill, he's an X factor, and there's not many of those guys. Antonio Brown, who you guys you want to hear me talk about him and the Raiders at some point, but he is an X factor as well. Those guys are playmakers, are game changers. The speed with which they play and what they can put on the field. You can't just put another guy in that can run as fast as Tyreek Hill can. You just can't. There's not one of those out there. So I think that he's a little bit different of a dynamic than another great receiver on a different team. That they may lose or whatever. There wouldn't be any kind of impact. But Hill is a little bit different in the sense that he can do so many things in different phases of the game.
Now we come to, and I'm jumping ahead in the list to the Oakland Raiders because this is where my bread and butter is.
Sure.
And basically, the Raiders are, plus 500, and if I read that correctly, I am basically betting $10 to win 50, and then negative 800. I'm betting basically what, $10. Eight.
You bet $80 to win 10.
$80 to win 10, and
Correct.
The bottom line is that's not good. And I think you said that, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I heard you say that you're predicting a 6-win season.
That is where our regular season win total projection is. We have it 6.5, and the under is juiced at -140, which means action and bettors and really move lines based on sharp action or professional players, and most of them are betting the under.
Wow. Okay, so riddle me this. Juan Ramirez is predicting one of our regular viewers and friend is predicting a 4-12 season for these Raiders. But riddle me this. We have a guy that Mark Davis says is worth $100 million in John Gruden. He went 4-12. Basically, according to analysis I did, I'm still mushing through, but the bottom line is over the last year, the Raiders have turned over 80% of their roster. 80%. Now, with all of that, and the addition of Antonio Brown, and this draft, this 6 wins, explain for my viewers and myself why that is. And I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with you, but I want to know your rationale.
I can. Well, okay. So just let's look back at last year. There's a lot of Don Gruden hype, and we just talked about the two coaches in the league that really, there's not any other coaches other than Andy Reid and Bill Belichick that we're gonna like. have an impact on the odds or the lines or futures markets, whatever it may be. John Gruden, this is a what have you done for me lately league. And last I saw him, he was 4-12. But 10 years before that, I saw him every Monday night in the booth. So, a lot of people come out and say the league's passed him by. He's still trying to play like it's 1996 or whatever. And so, until I see some different approaches to his philosophy and his game, I'm not going to go out there and say that John Gruden isn't a good coach or can't be a great coach or isn't a great coach. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach, but I need to see what he can do to this team. And last year we had the Raiders, all the hype with Gruden and everybody else, Carr, and they were favorites to win the division last year. We had them at 9.5 wins.
Wow.
And they won 4 games and they finished dead last in the division.
So you're mad like I am, right? So you're mad like I am, right?
Well, it's very easy to get caught up in hype, and I know that Antonio Brown is definitely going to create that, but that's not going to move the needle. And to give you some more points, one being is the AFC West is a very, very difficult division, maybe the best division in football. We've got 2 teams with the Chiefs and the Chargers. The Chiefs are at 10.5 wins. The Chargers are 9.5 wins. We have projected. I mean, we have 2 of the teams in that division, decent favorites. Chiefs very heavy. Chargers decent favorites to make the postseason. When you're playing 4 games a year against that. Denver's no pushover either. I think they're going to be greatly improved with Joe Flacco under center. That's a team that we have pegged at 7 wins, and I think they could easily eclipse that. I think that's a very underrated team coming into the season. So it's a really difficult division, and so you've got division games that are going to be difficult. And then I was just ahead looking at their schedule. This Raiders team could easily start at 1-6.
Wow.
And, I mean, maybe you're 3-point favorites in week 1 against the Broncos just for sheer home field advantage. We're basically saying, hey, these teams on a neutral field, it's a toss-up. If you're playing at Denver, you're 3-point underdogs. Maybe 3.5 even because of the altitude. But so, I mean, you look at that early season schedule, it could easily be a 1-6 out of the gate. And, at the end of the day, this is a quarterback-driven league. We know that. That's what it's become. And, while I think, David Carr is a competent quarterback, he's a quarterback in the NFL and can be serviceable, I don't think he's a franchise QB. I don't think he's going to be it for the long run. I don't think Gruden wants him for the long run. And we know that the play here is tank, trade, load up, let's get ready to wow and dazzle and Vegas.
I got to ask you, having said that, how would the Raiders trading up to acquire the services of Kyler Murray change your prediction?
Yeah, that would have been. I really actually thought that was going to happen. And I thought that whenever the rumor leaked they were going to do something crazy, I thought they're going to switch. They're going to switch with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals will move back to 4, and they're going to go up and get hurt because Gruden loves them. And I think that would have been a massive, massive mistake. This is just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I don't think Kyler Murray's going to be that good. I think he's going to end up being a bust.
Really? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I do.
Why?
I do.
Explain, please.
I just don't think he has. Unfortunately, we just don't get to see these college kids in an NFL element or environment in the systems they play in. These spread offenses. They're just incredibly pass heavy and offensive. Everything's just go, and that's just not how the NFL works. That's not the game that's played in the National Football League. I mean, look at our Super Bowl we just saw, 13-6. Defense. I mean, it was a sloppy game offensively, but defense still wins championships. And we've seen a lot of these guys come out of these, run and gun off these high flying offenses, and they don't perform well. I mean, let's go look at let's look at some of the more prolific or better recent quarterbacks that have come out of different systems. I mean, Carson Wentz. I think he's probably one of the best young quarterbacks it's really, in the last couple of years, it's come out, and it was a prototypical NFL style offense there. Andrew Luck, going back another generation. Andrew Luck, who I watched play at Stanford for many years, an NFL style system, that Jim Harbaugh ran.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a lot of faith in these guys that come out of these. I'm not sure Baker. Jury's still out on Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he had a great half season. Let's see what happens when 31 other teams have film on to dissect and figure out his weaknesses and try to limit what he does. The things he does best.
We're on with Robert Cooper. A very fascinating conversation, and by turns controversial, I think. And SportsBetting.ag. A quick Warrior game update. The Warriors 84, the Rockets 93 moving into the fourth quarter. Back to Robert. Got to ask you this question. Actually, more of a response to something Juan Ramirez just wrote. Barry Lee, one of our longtime listeners, first buyer of my t-shirt. Barry, welcome, and introducing you to Robert Cooper of SportsBetting.ag, who's giving us a fascinating talk. Ron Ramirez wrote this. He says, Gruden has been outcoached, no self-accountability, and poor locker room. What's your response to that from him?
I agree. I agree with Ron. I agree with him. I think he's been outcoached quite a bit, and I think that he's taking risks, unnecessary risks that he doesn't need to at times, and it's almost like he's outsmarting himself. And again, I go back to has he adjusted with the times?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the greatest. We've seen Belichick. We've seen Andy Reid. They've completely reinvented their playbooks. They've completely started from scratch because of what the league has turned into. I don't know if Gruden's ready to do that, or if he's able to do that, if he's going to do that. And really, he's the guy. I'm a little disappointed. I like John Gruden a lot. I like Jay Gruden.
Mm-hmm.
I actually follow those guys way back, going back to the Arena Football League days. But I'm not. Maybe he's too stubborn to go back, but I'm a little disappointed that he had the insight. He literally knew these teams. Playbooks inside and out, dissect them every week,
Mm-hmm.
All the games. I mean, he should have been picking plays and knowledge and just really calling it as much of this, kind of transformed league as possible. And then, he gets in the saddle and it seems like, hey, let's go back to the old Raiders days, the Bucs days, and do the same things we were doing then. And I just, you have to wonder if the league's kind of passed them by. But hey, I agree with your listener there. I don't know if, as far as the locker room situation goes, it will be interesting to see how he handles Antonio Brown's shenanigans because,
Mm-hmm.
When he was in the booth, he couldn't stand the prima donnas.
Mm-hmm.
He was always, he doesn't need to be crying about getting the ball. I just need to shut up and play. We'll see if he's going to say that because as soon as AD has, he isn't getting his targets or Carr misses them 3 or 4 times, he's going to be on the sidelines whining. We'll see how he handles that.
Hey, I want to get your view on this and add to that because my issue, it's not an issue with John because I've known John for 20 years. And John and I go back to when I was Elihu Harris economic advisor, and I was invited by a mutual friend of ours, Charlie Santana Jr., to meet him at a Raider party. And Charlie brought this guy, Pete the Cut Doctor, who was the cut doctor for Mike Tyson's. We had this quartet photo that's, somewhat famous because John looks so young and, I have a beard, I have glasses and hair. But John, I've always been a football strategy junkie. He invited me then to come by the Raider office. I didn't take him up. I couldn't take him up on it because of schedule. But my point is, I've seen him since I started covering the NFL, and Oh, remember I ran into him at the Lee Steinberg party in 2004, and I reminded him of a play idea I had in '98, and he said, "Get the napkin," and we started drawing stuff. And fast forward to when he came back to the Raiders last year, and I was at the NFL Combine, and I said, "Hey, John, I got some play ideas." And he goes, "I need some ideas, man. I need ideas." And he was serious because when I went to the NFL annual meeting, he had Raiders PR had Will Kiss wait for me in the lobby to get my play. Okay? That's how serious he was. And I mean, and he, yeah. And the idea I had, basically, he wound up using later in the year. It was kind of slightly based on what Auburn was doing with their fly sweep crossbuck handoff combination. But I don't want to get too far down into it. But the point is that he was really looking for ideas because what he originally installed, I felt, was too slow to develop in terms of scheme, and it didn't take advantage of obvious presentations. Like when we played the Rams, when the Raiders played the Rams last year at the Coliseum, the Rams presented the Raiders with this wide tackle defense with no middle linebacker. They just had a defensive back 8 yards back, offset from the center, and I'm yelling, call a run, because it was on first down. The Rams did this while the Raiders were in the Rams territory, okay, on first down, and I'm like, adjust, and they had no adjustment for it. And what do? They gave the ball to Marshawn Lynch on an off tackle to the strong side over Colton Miller, and he got maybe 4 yards. That was it, okay? And I can count a number of times where the Raiders just simply did not adjust their game plan. So my issue with John is twofold. First of all, the plays he designed, they have no respect for time motion studies. In other words, hey, you guys can't block that long? Don't make them block that long and then say you don't have the right guys. Design a play that cause them to get rid of the ball faster, right? Or you've got a situation where you say, hey, look, they're zeroing in on what you do. Call something different, like the late Tony Sperano used the Wildcat and shocked the Patriots and blew the Patriots out of the stadium, right? So that's what John doesn't do, and that's what disappoints me. As a person, I think John's an awesome guy, okay, but he's not bringing it in. I'm just saying it. He's not bringing it intellectually, and I would like to see him do that. But my question, having said that, all right, and I'm going to attack myself in that whole ideology and say this and ask this. Well, here's the other point that I want to make before I attack our mutual point of view. But what bothers me, Robert, is that John comes into the league, right, and he says, okay, I don't have enough time to coach these guys because the collective bargaining agreement is different, right? But then he turns around, he brings in all of these folks. So I'm thinking, how the heck are you going to coach all these guys and you say you don't have enough time? I mean, that was crazy. Yeah. I just, didn't get that. So to attack my point of view and then ask this question, and the Raiders have a stretch of, I think, 5 games on the road. Is it possible, looking at their defense and defensive changes with Vontaze Burfict, is that the real key? Are we missing something in this? What was it the Raiders changed that might just catch us by surprise? Nothing.
You know what? That's a great question. I mean, you said everything right. Hey, and congratulations on getting a play in for this year. That's pretty exciting. I got actually a really good story from the Arena Football League days. Jay Gruden was coaching the Orlando Predators back in the day, and one of my good friends, I'll shout out to him, Adam Markowitz. He was the PR guy for the Predators and also covered them for ArenaFan.com. But the Arena League has some really crazy timing rules at the end of the half and stuff like that. And basically, Adam Markowitz, told him so Jay lost this game because he didn't use his timing correctly as far as scoring and then doing onside and then scoring again. So I called him out on that, and Jay heard him, and the next game, he did it right, and he goes, we won the game because of Adam Markowitz. So it sounds like all the Grudens are looking for some help at times. But hey, look, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
I have
not at all.
problem. That's a great story, Dustin. And I got no problem, John, saying, look, hey, I'd be looking for all the ideas that I could. I would be going on Madden and finding the best players and what are they running and super bust out a super techno bowl. See if there's anything like that you can bring out as well. I mean, that is great. I mean, I think these guys, the Belichick and Reed of the world, they're not doing it on their own. They're surrounding themselves with good people. And I hope Gruden does that. And again, I couldn't agree more. I think he's a great guy, and I think he can be a good coach, but and has been and could be. But I think he has to go out his own way a little bit and adjust. And to your question, I look at that defense. I was just looking at the depth chart. I mean, it's very, very suspect. And you're going out and you're making that big splash at number 4, getting a guy that may have been there later on in the draft due to some off the field issues. And I just, I wonder, are you? The Gruden, to me, he's always been, hey, I want high character guys and this and that, and then I'm just not sure I'm seeing that as far as what they're bringing in and what they're trying to build around. And to me, is this just all part of the show? Are we just getting ready for Vegas, and it's going to just be another part of the circus?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that he went in there and they said, hey, look, we're tanking these next couple of years. I mean, let's build up draft picks, let's get some young guys, let's get some flashy guys, and we got to sell seats. We got to sell season tickets once we get to Sin City. But to me, that's what's happening. I don't know. Maybe he's silver lining. Maybe he's got the playbook for 2020 ready, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be completely different than what we're seeing. Maybe he's just going through the motions now. I don't know.
Hey, quick scoring note. Rockets 101, Warriors 88. Fourth quarter, 7:33 left. Houston Rockets have scored 8 points. The Warriors 4 in the fourth quarter. Hey, on the note of what we're talking about with respect to Gruden, Barry Lee has this question. He asks, how long does John Gruden have to improve his team and show results before the Raiders move on? That's a good question, because I would add on to that. If you're predicting another 6-10 season and that comes to pass, do you see Mark Davis firing John Gruden?
Absolutely. No, absolutely not. No, I don't think so. I think that he's part, he is implementing this long-term plan to get over to Vegas and change the team at that point. He's going to be patient as he needs to with Gruden. Gruden is a face, and he wants that. He wants that attention, especially when we get out to Vegas. He thinks that's the guy for it. If they continue, year 2, 3, 4 into Vegas, and they're still putting up 6 wins, 4-win seasons, then I think then absolutely he can make a change. But I think he's going to be very patient. I think this is what Gruden wasn't going anywhere where he couldn't control basically everything, and I think that Mark Davis is basically just giving him the keys to the wagon and said, let's see what you can do.
Hey, I got to ask you, and we touched on it a second. I just want to get your opinion. How much time do I have with you, by the way? Because I'm cool, but I just want to this is a lot of fun, but I don't want to, overstep my.
Yeah, I probably, my wife will probably, tell me if I let this go, much longer. So maybe 10 more minutes or so.
You got it. Okay, so I'll ask you, the Kentucky Derby outcome. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's crap. I think it's. I just don't know. I think this officiating is getting too involved into too many sports these days. I think that the technology and the things that we've come to expect as far as the integrity of the game and getting the right calls is great. But it's just there's just a hand in too much of it. I think the Derby. And actually our property SportsBetting.ag refunded all wagers leading up to race day, so all futures markets, all prop bets involving maximum security. We gave all that money back. We didn't take it. We didn't feel like we needed it, deserved it in a sense, because we didn't pay him out as a winner, but we graded those as no action because we felt like we got screwed. That was the best horse on the track in tough conditions. He was the odds-on favorite for a reason. At post time, he ran a great race. He made one little mistake, and I don't think that warranted a disqualification.
Hey, I'd like to have you back so we can talk about the rest of the NFL, since I cover the NFL, and this has been a fun conversation. But I also know that there's 5 minutes and 45 seconds left of the game, and I know you want to get back to seeing it. And so do I, and so do my viewers. So I'm going to say, hey, thanks a lot. Also, how can viewers catch your work? What's the website for them?
Yes, absolutely. Your viewers, if your state, California, Georgia, wherever it may be, if your state's not ready for sports betting, hasn't gotten up to par, you can get on SportsBetting.ag, deposit many different ways with credit card, Western Union, Bitcoin, whatever it may be, and you can gamble on the last 5 minutes of the Rockets Warriors game tonight if you want. But yeah, you can find us there, and then we're on Twitter at SportsBetting.ag.
And I'll talk to you soon. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to another session. NFL is my favorite, so enjoyed the banter tonight. Zinni, I hope I didn't upset any of your loyal Raiders fans, but just try to take an unbiased oddsmaker approach.
Well, I think the Oakland-based fans are really excited you made that prediction. The Vegas fans, I don't know. But hey, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks again. Have a great one.
You too. Okay, see
you.
Thanks. So, folks, that was Robert Cooper. I'm going to have him back, but I'm going to go and check out the rest of the Warriors game. It's 94-104. The Warriors are down 10 with 5 minutes and 45 seconds left. And there will be a show tomorrow night as well. I'm going to bring Robert Cooper back, too. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Zenny62 on YouTube, and I'll talk to you soon, okay? Oh, Barry Lee says, what happened at the Derby? Been working since Friday. Barry, basically maximum security didn't win, and it was disqualified. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, we'll talk about